Running behind, gang. Ain't we?
No, right on time.
Nah, we're on time.
Hey, everybody.
It was up to the wire, though.
Yeah.
Damn near caught the house on fire with the grill. Had to put it out with Brandy's expensive sea salt.
Yeah.
Whole brand new bottle.
I just bought it.
To all those guys watching, all 4 of you, clean your grills seasonally.
Yeah. I think that's what happened. We didn't clean it. Nice to have everybody.
I say we waste no time All right, Harley, quit. Hi, Harsh.
Yo.
All right, sweet. This is better than expected, man. I was nervous after that little miscue last time. How's things going, buddy?
Not bad, not bad, not bad. How's things your end?
Oh, they're great. I keep feeling like I should keep my voice down because it's 12 at your house.
Yeah, I've locked the door to their rooms so they can't get out.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us this late.
That's good.
Thank you.
How you doing, buddy? How's things?
That's all right. That's all right. The nice British weather, not Australian. For you lot who think I live in Australia.
I didn't.
I did up to the other day. I'm going to keep it real. I'm not a bullshitter, Harsh. You know me, buddy.
Yeah.
I always associated mate with Australian.
Yeah. I wish I lived in Australia.
I don't know. It's kind of rough over there right now, ain't it? They stay on lockdown, don't they?
It's rough everywhere.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought what we would do. Now, I have some backup questions if we don't get any in chat. Is just answer some questions.
Okay.
You down for that?
I am, yeah.
I'm going to pick the hardest ones I see, and I'm going to send them right at you.
Hit me.
Fair enough? This is how you get to see if somebody can really rap when they got a freestyle without having anything planned. We're going to see what kind of freestyler Harsh is. All right, guys, you heard the rules. Send us a question, and we'll take the very first one. Make it hard.
We'll make John answer.
Hit me.
Harsh is ready, man.
Okay.
I'm feeling like the chat. Everybody's already on there. I have a feeling we're going to get a good one right off the rip. These are pretty smart people that watch me and you. Right?
Yep. Definitely.
Nobody seemed to ask a question yet, though.
Nobody dares. Nobody dares.
I know. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to be the first one. We'll go to one off the list. How's that?
Go on, then.
I have a list from emails and comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
Harsh, what is your opinion of Tim Mullins?
Well, apart from the fact he's a tosser, he's just a weirdo. I don't understand why he's having anything to do with the case, full stop. Yeah, it's beyond me, his involvement. I think he is sketchy as hell. I don't think that you could rule out the fact that he could have something going on in the background. He has obviously got involvement with other things away from this as well. He's involved in a company that he set up back in 2020, which specializes basically in online removal of people's identity. So he can wipe traces of people if they've been on social media, if they've had other things online. So he has got or has access to people who can help get rid of evidence, if you like.
Really?
Yeah. And he's also, people don't realize is he's obviously recently approached Brandy Neal as well. And people think that's because he was looking to try and help. And that's not entirely true, which I'm going to do a video about later. But as a heads up, he was actually reaching out to her because there's some money gone missing to do with the Michael Vaughan case. It was some money that was involved in one of the funds that was raised. And there was a group of people who was trying to find out where this money had gone. And he was one of them.
He was one that was trying to find out where the money was?
Where the money went, yeah. So that was the initial conversation between him and some other people before he reached out to Brandy.
Right, Michael Vaughan's mother.
Yeah.
You know, that as soon as I heard that, I thought that's just creepy as hell. I think he's done a horrible job as the Wells media manager.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I hope that she does not. I heard she wasn't too much up on Tim is through the grapevine.
Yeah.
I think it's weird him inserting himself in that case also, you know?
Well,
yeah. It's like the phone situation. Why would Don have even entrusted him with the phone?
Yeah, really.
see,
Unless there was something on the phone and Tim told him he could get it off it.
Maybe.
I really feel like there wasn't shit on the phone, though.
No,
honestly.
I can't. And I also can't understand why, if the phone had any importance, why law enforcement would have had it anyway.
Right.
They'd have had access to any digital information on that phone, even without the handset.
Right. Yeah. That's why, that's another reason I don't think there's shit to the phone. I think the phone was built up by Benny and the rest of the gang just for views and clicks. Because there's not shit going on. There's nothing, big and truthful come out in a minute that I can tell. I mean, when's the last time you heard something and you thought, well, that sounds right?
Never. Not out of any of their mouths.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we got a lot of questions.
Okay, now Brandy says the questions are rolling through.
Yeah.
I got to talking to Harsh. I forgot we was live.
What you think of DAG coming out today? DAG is how they put it. I'm not for sure.
What do you think of the district attorney coming out? Have you seen that?
Yeah, better late than never, I suppose.
Well, I have. Catch me up.
Well,
Let me have the Harsh version. I haven't got it.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've not gone into much detail on it. I heard that it got involved, which I can only imagine that's because of probably internal backlash from someone's obviously said, how can you be investigating something for this long and not be any further forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can turn around and say she wasn't abducted. Well, if that's if you're saying she's not abducted, then she's come to harm because of neglect. And when you've got people sitting in jail who are doing life sentences for exactly the same thing, then why, at the very least, can't you do them for that?
Yep.
Up until, I tell you, the most recent statement by the lead detective broke my spirit.
Yeah.
As far as having faith in, I kind of felt like when Ronnie was rattling her cage with, I know you got they lawyered up, I felt like it was going positive then, but I really feel like after that detective talked, I have zero faith in law enforcement. Yeah. Especially Hawkins County.
Unless they know stuff and lying to us, I don't.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they don't have more information. There's a term that they call push and release, which they will do specific things, like when Ronnie Lawson come out and said they've lawyered up. I believe that was a form of push and release. He gave the information out to the public, hoping for a backlash, and I think that's potentially what's happened. I think with all the things that's been going on social media, they put all their eggs in one basket. They thought these bunch of idiots are going to slip up at some point. Right. But it's just become such a melting pot of a mess that you can't now figure out what's gone on.
I just hope, I have faith. There has to be something in all the phones and things. There's got to be some evidence in that somewhere.
Yeah.
I know that there is no way everybody's phones are lining up with everything perfect.
No.
There's no way.
Yeah. There's got to be evidence.
The fact that they haven't come out and said, look, they're not suspects means they're suspects.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's me too. I was thinking about that the other day. When's the last time have you heard of innocent parents not cleared in the amount of time we're at now?
And that's it. And the ultimately law enforcement have a duty of care, and they know, because of what can happen in these cases, that will be their first port of call to make sure that they've cleared them and make sure the public knows that that's been done.
Right.
Because then that will stop this rumor mill. That will get rid of all that. If 7 months ago law enforcement would have come out and said, look, all the information lines up, they have not done anything. Think of how much information you could then remove from the equation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They could make it a lot simpler on us if, Roddy takes something off the table. That'd help out.
Definitely.
Something. Anything. If they just come out and be like, you know what? I'm going to tell y'all, Jody Sue ain't got shit to do with it. That would stop tons of things. Yeah. I've heard 500 things attached to her, not which any of them I believe, but, that's part of the huge picture of BS. You got to wade through to try to make an informed decision.
Yeah.
Right? I'm getting lost. It's almost like there's been so much, but I don't know. I'm kind of good at brushing off the BS, and I think there's a lot of that.
They haven't been able to even come out, though, and say, when you think of how much speculation there is over the horse pond incident, law enforcement haven't even come out and said, look, we can corroborate their story there. So whatever happened after that. They haven't even come out and said that.
They haven't said anything. That's the thing. And it seems like to me they play it borderline with Dawn and Candace. They never seem to really insinuate one way or the other they're innocent or guilty. Do you ever get a feel they're pushing it one way or the other? I mean, I know by their actions, but seeing them talk.
I've never seen. Well, the only other time I've seen something like this is the Madeleine McCann case.
Yeah.
And if you strip everything back and just look at the fundamentals of these two cases, they're almost identical. You've got a law enforcement on the Madeleine McCann case that basically said and knew the parents did it. It was only because of the money and the connections that the McCanns had that they managed to basically rubbish the law enforcement. And if the McCanns had that backup of money, they'd have probably been able to do the same. It's only a lack of ability that they've kind of escaped doing that. I think law enforcement have dodged a bullet.
I pray that don't happen in Summer's case. We find out who, somebody's accounted for her.
I just don't understand why. If they're saying the girl wasn't abducted, then what you're basically saying is she came to harm because of the parents in some way, shape, or form. Even if she wandered off, it's their fault. If she came to harm, it's their fault. So again, there's people sitting doing life imprisonment for harm coming to their child because of their neglect.
Right.
Throw that at them. Bring them in and say, look, this is what's going to happen.
Let me ask you this. Does Dawn ever see the outside of a prison cell?
I think he will.
You think so?
I think so. I'd like to think I'd like to think he doesn't, but there's the danger is this. There's a lot of difference between going online and speculation where people say, look, this could have happened, that could have happened, and people actually going online and given a story that is supposedly going to be used in court against somebody.
Right.
Because you're basically, Don will have an attorney. He will have someone who now knows exactly what he's facing.
He's facing a lot. Don has incriminated himself a ton.
And that's probably the only caveat to it. The caveat is he's let himself sort of the floodgates open, and probably that's his own stupidity. And that's the only. If he'd have kept his mouth shut, I think he'd have 100% walked. He's probably got a 20-30% chance of walking free, and that will be because they'll claim unfair trial.
See, I worry about that. I know the laws are really strict about some shit, and I don't want to see anything happen God forbid, that gets Dawn, Candace, anyone off. That is a nightmare to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Some little box went unchecked. I mean, crazier shit's happened too, you know? I want to make sure whoever is responsible is held accountable.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Candace is knee deep in.
Yeah.
If one
the
person
problem is,
has to be in on it, it's her.
Yeah. I think that I don't think you can rule out the fact that Don has probably got on them what happened to Rose.
Yeah.
See, I've thought about that. There's so many things one of them could have on the other that it's damn near worth nobody ever speaking, because if you got a murder, a missing child on somebody and all this, you know, how do you tell, how do you be the one to break?
Well, look at this. I look at it this way. If it would have been solely Don and Don didn't have anything on Candace and Grandis, Grandis would have thrown Don under the bus long ago. As soon as he went inside, he'd have been gone.
Yes. That's what I've told Brandy. I said, there is some big reason that Grandis ain't spilling.
Yeah.
I know she doesn't like Dawn, you know, and even though their family's weird, I'm sure she in some way doesn't like the way Dawn treats her daughter. But, you know, what she has on Dawn is probably the same thing she has on her daughter. So that kind of puts her in another way of resistance at ever spilling.
Yeah.
You know, she don't want to jail Candace for life, I'm sure.
No, that's it.
Right?
That's my thought.
Can you pick questions up there? You want me to go through?
No, I thought we was rolling through.
Well, we've got tons of them.
You think it's just a coincidence Tim was on scene in Utah when the memorial thing happened?
You've got to ask yourself why they would have had him. Again,
That's
it
weird.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
No.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
These aren't the type of people that stage memorials or honor rocks or anything like that.
No.
Right?
You wouldn't think, but who knows?
That whole connection between them is completely bizarre.
Yeah, I mean,
such a weird thing to do. You know, and this is on their flyover or their layover from Dr. Phil, right?
Yeah. They
go see Dad and then they go do that weird shit and get back on the plane back to Tennessee.
Yeah.
But if they would have had something on them, though, right? You got to think they flew to Dr. Phil with that.
Yeah.
Because you know what a lot of people are saying. Then they flew, a lot with evidence all over them.
All over them,
They were depositing something in Utah. That's why I feel like that was a creepy Tim Mullins call to make him a video.
Yeah.
And try to maybe improve their reputation. But I think everybody just took it completely the other way with like, that's so weird. They never seem upset. Now they're doing honor rocks. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Tim couldn't talk him out of it because he's so damn creepy. He didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole trip, that was weird. And, somebody was talking about the other day. It just creeps me out. I don't know what Tim's all about.
I've seen a couple questions about the necklace. What do you think about the necklace?
I'll let you go first, Harsh.
If I'm brutally honest, I don't think the necklaces have anything to do with ashes. I don't think they'd be. I know they're stupid. I don't think they're quite that stupid.
See, that's where I'm at.
I think that there's a potential that they've previously been used for holding cocaine, possibly. For those of you who are in the realms of watching the film Cruel Intentions, you'll have seen them being used in that film.
Right.
They're renowned for people to be using them, and I can't see them filling them with ashes.
No.
Yeah.
No. For one thing, that would show compassion and stuff, and that's not who they are.
They don't have any.
No.
In fact, if I was to say what these two are, I would say that they're dark empaths. And if you look into what a dark empath is, they're quite dangerous people because they have no empathy, but they kind of know how to make people feel that they have.
Yeah.
and they're quite manipulative people, and them two are very manipulative.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Dawn's better by far, though.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
But I think an element of how you see Candace is part of her manipulation.
Right.
I agree.
Exactly.
I think,
yeah. She's creepy smart.
Yeah.
She's not as dumb as everybody thinks she is.
Yeah, I agree.
But having us think she is
helps her.
Part of her game.
Yeah.
There's been many times that the whole dynamic online has been changed by Candace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My opinion, I think she's behind it.
Oh yeah.
It was her idea. Whatever happened, it was her. That's my idea.
I think if you had to fathom a guess, I think you would have to say that there was either an accident or something happened and Dom was clear up.
Right. Right. And see, I kept wanting to say no to the accident, but the more I thought about it, the conditions and everything, it could have been an accident.
Yeah.
And then she can't be examined, or Dawn goes to jail,
yeah.
possibly for something else, and that's the reason I think it could be an accident. Because I really think if they didn't have nothing to lose, they would have told by now. They wouldn't have went this far if they didn't do something wrong or there wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
It wasn't she fell off her swing and, they panicked. That's not how it went down.
No.
Right.
Definitely not.
What's your best guess of possibly what the accident could have been?
There's so many things. Well, you've seen how tidy their house was, so it could literally been anything. I think it was Mike Tyson's child who literally they died because they were hung on the cutoff cable on the treadmill. So children can get into real difficulty very, very quickly. And it could have been as simple as an argument with the boys and she was shoved.
Right.
Could have been anything. Could have fallen.
And the thing with it is, like, even if it would have been a thing, it was the boys, they couldn't have told because it still comes back to you can't be...
Exactly. I think that's the crux of it. I think that there was I think it's quite obvious that something was going on between, I hate to say it, but between Don and Summer. I think it would be more bizarre if it wasn't. Knowing what Don's been like and what's been raised and how his mindset was over that.
Yeah.
I just think that there's pointing towards that there was something there.
I always had so much trouble when he would talk about how much Summer loved him as opposed to how much he loved her. I always thought that was so creepy. From the first time I heard it, I was like, dude, this guy, he doesn't think the way I think. Right?
No.
And I think most dads would never bring up how much the child loved them before they brought up how much they loved their child, right?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it creeped me out. I've never got over it. I don't even like talking about it. I talked about it in like one video and mentioned like 4 or 5 things he said that were just so odd to me,
Yeah.
But you could tell as he was saying them, though, wasn't odd to him.
Yeah, he's crossed over a line there. That father-daughter relationship is very, very blurred to him.
All his relationships are weird, though. Think about this, okay? I believe the shower story because I've heard it twice from 2 different people. And why is the oldest boys in the shower at the same time? That's weird. Not just the little daughter, but why in the hell would you be showering with your 13-year-old son?
Yeah.
Can you see how is that odd to you too?
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know what to say about it, if I'm honest. It's completely insane. Completely insane.
Well, Brandy's jumping on me. I guess we're rambling. She wants to answer some questions.
Yeah.
They're piling up. I'm sorry. I thought we were on a roll.
Answer it, move on.
Okay. Give me a question.
Well, People, I'll let you know this. I hit my phone. I was palming out people. I'm trying to fix it.
Oh, are people acting up?
No, I
Oh, you
accidentally
did it on
did
accident
it.
again?
Okay, so I'm trying to fix it. You want a question?
Yeah, I thought that's why you were elbowing me in the
Well, I was trying to
ribs.
fix that, but hold on, I have one.
Stretch it out, man. I'm no spring chicken anymore. You gotta watch that shit. Crazy. Man, I tell you, you're awful spry you're sharp at 12:30 at night, Harsh.
Did you know I sleep about 4 hours a night?
You sleep about what I do. You're on my time frame.
And I've always been the same since I was at school.
Really?
Yeah.
How old are you?
42.
Oh. You look good for your age.
Yeah. Yeah,
Easy.
I was thinking you were early 30s, dude.
Yeah,
Give
42.
It about 5 years.
Okay,
You'll be sleeping double what you do now. It catches up, Harsh. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I was a specimen at one point.
Hold on. I got a good one. Candace sent the boys to the creek so they wouldn't see her take Summer out of there. Then she drove as far back into the holler. What do y'all think about that? I've never actually.
It's possible, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of voicing of people's opinion about her leaving twice, going and then coming back. I do believe she left twice. I definitely believe that happened. But
how far do you think she? Does anybody have an idea of how long she was gone for either trip? Do we know?
Well, when you think we've basically got what 2 hours that are kind of missing,
right?
So between the two trips, I think that's where your 2 hours are.
Travel time.
I reckon so. Yeah.
That gives her a. You could get a long ways off in 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know,
if you can't put it anywhere else, then it's got to be traveling time. It's got to be something that you have. There is no answer for it. She can't even answer it.
I just wonder if it couldn't have possibly been a drowning, because she was obviously distracted at the swimming hole. If you think about it.
Yeah, I think that what Jose did say regarding the relationship between Candace and Hunter, I think that kind of put a different dynamic on that day.
I thought when she told Chris, and it felt like to me she made a point of this, and she said when they first got there, Hunter run off. I don't know where he went and done his own thing for a minute. I always felt like that was to explain something. That
was to explain why he was there. It was to distance herself from Hunter himself.
Right. Okay.
It was to not. It was so that no questions were asked about what Hunter was doing there with her. We got there and he went off and done his own thing. That was deflective.
What do you think about Hunter saying that Grandis was loading minutes onto her phone? You think there could have been some truth in that? Maybe Grandis had a burner phone for some reason?
I think he's full of shit. I don't think she was there.
See, I don't either, man. Well, I don't know if I don't think he was there, but I definitely think he's full of shit. You know?
I don't think Grandis was there.
Grandis, the way she spoke, man, I know what brought that up, right? When she come out and spoke, and she said it so weird. How did she put it? Summer was swimming, and however she said it, you got the feeling that she wasn't there when that was happening.
Yeah, and I don't think she was there. I've heard so many people talk who are locals to that area about sort of the waiting times, how long it would take to generally do what she was there to do, and she wouldn't have got it done in that time.
Right.
The waiting times are far longer than they said.
You know, that was the busiest day ever for somebody that was just going to pick up Grandis or drop her off initially, you know. It was action-packed for someone with a bad knee, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always thought that was weird. And a lot of people want to say that Grandis was in the emergency room trying to get pain pills. Well, that's not the way it works around the United States anymore. because there's such an epidemic of people overdosing, getting hooked on prescription painkillers.
Yeah.
So I don't know about the emergency room thing. I don't think there's nothing special about that. It just happened to be that day.
I'll tell you what is a really weird thing, what I can't get my head around. Now, the US, especially even around Tennessee, there's a huge fentanyl problem. And I don't understand why that hasn't been brought into this case. The fact that nobody has even brought that up raises eyebrows to me.
And that shit will drop you in a heartbeat.
That's it. People don't realise how strong that is and how powerful that is. And even I think the only time that was mentioned, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was kind of talked about in the Chris McDonough and Hunter interview. They were talking about the issues with drugs around that area.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that was kind of a passing comment. But I can't believe that that's not floated around Ben Hill Road.
Oh, I think there's a lot floating around Ben Hill Road, or there was. You know, I don't know if they'd still be ballsy enough to keep it going, but and you know, I think when you look back too about Ben Hill Road, if you remember, like one of the first interviews, Don acted like he didn't know nobody that he didn't go to church with. You know, since this happened, I've found out I have some nice neighbors. Well, bullshit. He was talking to everybody on the road at some point or another, right?
Yeah.
Did you get the feeling he keeps trying to distance himself?
Yeah, well, I think that people were quite shocked when they found out that Don and Candace had been going to the church for about 2 years. People had thought they'd been going there for a few weeks.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked at how Don pays attention in church.
Yeah.
You know, he still somehow manages to pay attention even though Candace is snoring right beside him. How does it work over on your side? Would that go down in church, or would somebody get majorly offended by that?
If I'm brutally honest, I don't think you'd have it. I don't think anyone would do it.
Thank you. And a lot of people defend that.
No, it wouldn't happen.
I could never do it. And if Brandy, if we're in church, right, and I look over at her and she's all like, that's how weird Don is too. He just lets the shit go on beside him, but he's a control freak, apparently, is what everybody wants to think. It's so weird. Right? A control freak lets his wife snore in church beside him.
Yeah. Well, that shows what sort of person Candace is, doesn't it? I'm going to come with you and I'm going to just ignore you.
It's mind-boggling to me. It really is, you know. How Candace is so brash. Did you get a look at the wish list?
Yeah, I did.
Beef jerky, fanny pack. What is she up to lately? Do you know? Have you heard?
No, she's vanished, didn't she?
Candace.
They say
she's vanished.
engaged. I've seen that in the messages too. I don't know if it's true.
I think maybe she's made a run for it. You know, she knows Don. If Don thinks he's screwed, he's going to let it go, I believe. What do you think?
I think with the right leverage, I think he'd give up. If it's I'm good, I can throw everyone under the bus and it's going to help me in some way, I think he'll do it in a heartbeat.
I think so too. That's why I was kind of excited to think that there could be something come out of this Utah thing, because I was skeptical at best because of the period of time and where witnesses would be and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people aren't sold that the story's even true about the questioning, because has it been verified outside of Mary?
Don't think so.
Wouldn't that be some shit? Well, I don't think it is, but I've seen it brought up a lot.
anything, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either. You know, I wouldn't. You got a question?
Oh yeah. Let's see here.
Fire one off.
Harsh, where are you from? Love your accent, which we already went over that, but they might have missed it. So go ahead.
I am in the UK. I live not far from the Queen.
Really?
Yeah. Live just down the road from one of the Queen's residences.
That's wild.
Oh, that's neat.
I think. How many people you think still thinks you're from Australia?
A lot. But it happens wherever I go. I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and they all thought that I lived in friggin' Australia.
You know, hearing you talk more and more, I don't hear the Crocodile Dundee I used to. You sound more UK to me.
Yeah.
You know, I think most people probably just heard a short clip, and if mate was in it, they just went Australia. Right?
Good day, mate.
Clear up the engagement. They said it was an April Fool's joke between her and Ernie. So it was a joke.
I never even heard the joke. Ernie and Candace got engaged.
I guess it was a joke.
And
Yeah,
it was a Fool's joke. Do you know that?
I know that bloke's got problems, but he's got serious problems if that weren't a joke.
Ugh.
See, they're joking, and her daughter's missing, joking about stuff like that.
But Ernie, a while back, was supposed to have left her a bag of toys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So was that how he started the courting her?
I don't. That's a bad way to do that.
Harsh? You think that was ceremonial on Ernie's part?
I hope not. No.
You don't want to touch that?
That might have not been true, but who knows?
I don't know. I can't take a bunch of
Maybe that's his way of picking up on a woman. Hey.
Yeah. That might be a new thing.
Yeah.
Wow, I am behind because that would have got me arrested, slapped.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Nah, it's a weird way to go about things.
Why do you think they aren't bringing Candace back and putting the pressure on her right now?
I think a lot of people feel like they can just jerk Candace in and put the light on her and start questioning the shit out of her. And they can't just do that.
Yeah.
Sadly, that don't work that way.
Thank you. And a lot of people, I get asked that a lot. Why don't they just bring her in and beat the crap out of her till she speaks? And I'm like, that's why we have the judicial system. You know, there are rules.
Yeah. The danger is you bring her in and you're shooting in the dark. You do that 2 or 3 times and you're screwed because that'll just go down as harassment then, and you'll never get her back in.
Right.
True.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because this is something a lot of people can't agree on. Did something happen on the 15th? Are you positive that was the day she went missing?
I don't, if I'm honest. I don't. But there is one kind of... It's all based on whether CPS were going to be there on the 16th. I think if that could be corroborated and you can without a doubt say, yes, they were there, going to be there on the 16th, then this didn't happen on the 15th.
See... I think a lot of the movement that is the reason people don't think it was the 15th is I know the psychics that I've seen, none of them think it happened on the 15th. And I think a lot of people follow that like gospel.
Has anybody of any credibility come out and said, we 100% saw Summer on this day? Because I don't think it has.
See, now, I was where you're at, and I would always get the rebuttal that she was seen on security camera somewhere. Now, I've never seen that backed up. I've never seen...
No. And to be fair, when you look at historic cases, when there has been a sighting like that in the public, that would be made public. You would see it. You know, I get it if they've turned around and said, well, we see the car and we've seen a child sitting in the back with shaved, you know, short blonde hair, but there's still an issue on whether the children were locked in the house at home, whether the older boy went to work with Don, which then you've got to think, well, where was the younger boy then? Was he at the house on his own, or was he in the car? So
I thought about that too, because they always say, now they say the guys that were clearing the power line seen her. They said they seen a blonde-headed kid in the back of the car, and I always thought, you know, the littlest one, the littlest boy, there's no way on a security camera or from a distance you'd be able to tell them apart.
No. And I think you could argue that perhaps that video stroke picture of Summer being in the back of the car was their attempt at trying to corroborate that story.
Right.
I think that could have been done for that reason. It wasn't an accident. They were trying to put together evidence to kind of put out to say, look, this is what we did on the 15th and Summer was here. Look, she was in the car.
Right. But to me, that picture had to have been taken on the 15th, or if it wasn't, TBI is aware of that. Right?
You'd have thought so. You would have thought so. There would be metadata on that picture to say when that was taken.
Right. And I would think with having their phones and everything, they know if that picture wasn't on the 15th. That's why when I try to build my theory, I go with the 15th. Because I would think TBI could arrest them if they were lying about that to them.
The issue that you've got is that picture is an admission of guilt.
Right.
At the end of the day, Candace just say, well, I don't know when the picture was taken. What's that got to do with it? We've told you that she got home and she was abducted from the house. That picture's irrelevant. Right. That picture, in theory, it has no bearing on the case whatsoever. We can speculate because it's online, but ultimately, what does it matter what day that was taken in terms of a criminal investigation? Unless they're saying something happened at the swimming hole.
Do you think there's anything? What do you think about Summer's condition in that picture? Does anything look amiss to you?
Well, a friend of mine, he owns a funeral home, and I sent him a picture of it, and I said, and he doesn't follow all this. He's not that kind of person. He didn't know anything. I said, just have a look at that picture and just tell me what you think. And he said, his actual words were, when I said about, is this child alive or not in this car? He said, without any context whatsoever, I'd say there's a 98% chance that child is not alive in that car.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the downside is we don't know how much the picture has been manipulated. We don't know when you're looking at it. You don't know whether that's the original, whether it's been played with. So it's hard to say. But the picture that I showed him that came off of Candace's Facebook, so that should, in theory, have been a non-tampered with version, if you like.
Right.
Yeah, he said that she looked like she was in Palamortus.
Wow.
Did he say what give him that idea? Like what about her?
The coloration she had, obviously she had the bruising around her earlobe that was closest to what would have been cold milk.
Right.
So there's different in Palamortus. People think that they think that bodies go straight into like rigor mortis, and they don't. There's actually about 12 different phases the body goes through. Right. And Palamortus happens kind of about 10 to 15 minutes after death, and her body, the way it's actually paling down, and if you do look closely, there's signs of it. There are signs of it with the bruising around her fingers and her ears. Right. Her legs also look swollen.
I noticed too, and I've talked about this for kids that were outside so much, all of them were extremely pale, I thought.
Yeah.
All of them. The boys also. I thought it was odd how pale they were. And in the picture, we're talking about, you would have not thought she had been in the water with the sun out that day at all. My little girl, if she goes out and stands beside the pool for 5 minutes without sunscreen, she's burnt,
Yeah.
And Candace isn't the type of mother to bring the towel or the sunscreen.
Oh, definitely not. No, 100%.
She didn't have any, and she is so pale.
Yeah.
It's weird to think she had been out in the sun in a year, in my opinion. And what you said about the pictures too, about how we don't know what's been manipulated. I get sent things all the time, and that's why I don't know what to tell people, because I'm telling you, you don't know this picture that you've seen here, what's been done to it. Because I've seen people get really grotesque with how far they take it. Yeah. I've seen her fingernails black and her fingers purple, dark purple. And if somebody has tampered with that.
Yeah, that's it.
You're a sick person to do that.
Yeah.
I don't care how bad you need a story to tell or something. That's disgusting to me. And I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
And some poor people, they don't realize, that shit gets manipulated like that. And they see something like that and it horrifies them.
Yeah. We also have to remember there are other pictures of Summer with the discoloration in her nails. And let's not forget that Candace herself was born with a heart defect.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And, Summer could have suffered from a congenital heart defect that just, she's not going to be being taken to hospital and being checked over. She's not going to have all of that. So she could have collapsed at home. She could have been out messing about, running around. A friend of mine, we went out. This is a true story. We'd gone out, and he was a rugby player. His father actually ran the West Norfolk Rugby Club. He was well into sport. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, and we'd been out, and he was designated driver as per usual. And we got home, and the following morning, it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and my phone was going, and I kept cutting it off because we'd got in at about 3 o'clock in the morning. And it turned out my friend had died in his sleep.
Oh.
And he never knew he even had a heart condition. But he was going to the gym. He was, like I say, he played for West Norfolk Rugby, so he was a high-level rugby player, never had an issue. Went to sleep one night and didn't wake up.
Yeah.
Summer could have had a heart condition and was in that car and passed away in the car. She could have been left in the car when they got home, and they went to get her out of the car and couldn't rouse her.
Right. What do you think about the people that say she got locked in the car and, it overheated? To me, I think a 5-year-old can get out of the car if they had to.
Yeah, I think you've got to take her age into consideration.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just like to try to address everything, because you hear so many things, and I think a lot of this you can rule out, and to make a better guess at least at what's true and what's not.
Yeah. There's loads of things. The thing is, there's loads of things that could have happened. If you take into consideration, she could have potentially had a heart defect that had gone unnoticed, and then you pair that. Did they actually go swimming? If she was in that water that day, the temperature weren't even that hot. And when you look at the proper weather report from that day, it was actually very windy from around midday till around 4 p.m. as well. So the wind cutting across that water, it would have been cold.
Right. And
you get her out of there, and she'd complained that she weren't feeling very well, apparently.
Right.
There's a lot of things that could have happened. But ultimately, I think something happened, and they couldn't take it to law enforcement because she was being messed about with.
Right, and that's what it comes back to. No matter, you can think of 500 different scenarios of what could have happened that caused it.
Yeah.
But it always comes down to the reason they didn't just say that.
They didn't get help.
Right, why they didn't get help, exactly. And maybe it could have been something, had they gotten help, could have been turned around also,
Yeah.
Could have been something they caught in time, but still, Kenneth calls Don. He's like, hell no, you can't do that. I'll go to jail for the rest of my life. So, You know, who knows what they would have done. I hate to guess, you know.
You'll have to handle my computer shut down. You have to handle the chat till I get back up here.
Okay. I don't know. I just rack my mind. I think my theory changes daily. Have you got something that you've feel like really good about?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What is your theory? Just like the overview. It was an accident, and it was the reason.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that she was potentially being trafficked at some point. I think that there was a potential for that to be going on, and that is a contributory factor to why she wasn't allowed to access the help that she needed in whatever happened.
Right.
You know, that for sale barrel that we saw her dancing around in. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah, that picture.
Do you think that was nefarious? That
I
video?
do, 100%. And people are the downside is, and why we see cases like this happen is because of people's ignorance of how it happens. I saw Don B the other day, and bless him, it turned around. He said, "I didn't realise that children could be sold," and I thought, they can be sold, and they can be sold. In 2018, the Backpage scandal. This was a huge business that was on an online marketplace, and they were literally advertising children like you'd advertise a car. Right. And the only reason that this came to a head was because the friend of someone whose child had been missing, they saw the child in the ad.
Wow.
And I think it was in 2020, Facebook was responsible for 50% of online trafficking cases. TikTok, as we speak, are being investigated for trafficking offences.
Like, are they saying it's an internal thing, or it's where people are using?
They know that it's being done. They know, and they're allowing it to happen.
Do it. That makes sense to me.
You can't get rid of when something happens like Backpage. When you remove it, the demand for it doesn't go away.
Right.
People still want it, and what people will see is, well, there's an opening. You know, if all of the shoe shops all of a sudden closed, what would be the best thing to open if you had the facility to do it? A shoe shop.
Right. Right.
And that's what's happening. This is a business that's worth $150 billion a year.
Yeah.
And the downside is as well, there is reasoning behind why governments wouldn't do a lot about it. We know going back 100 years, it was the drug business that propped up governments because the banks had all collapsed.
Right.
So when you look at a business this massive, you can't rule out law enforcement involvement, government involvement, because there's the money's there.
Do you think that because I like to believe maybe part of what's taken so long is it's connected. Summer's case is connected to trafficking, and maybe they're trying to get as high up the food chain as they can get before they set it off. Do you think there's any chance of that? I like to think so.
I would like to. Obviously, there's some strange connection surrounding Frisk, isn't there, or whatever his name is, for this billionaire that's over in Utah.
Right.
And you know, when you start going that high, and these sort of names are being brought into the mix, you've then got to think, hold on, is there something in the background going on that is big? Because what you will find is they won't, when it comes to trafficking, they won't just attack one cell, if you like. That won't work that way. They will actually watch the cell and who else it connects with, and they will actually hit 10 to 20 at a time.
Right.
And that's why when you'll see, I think it happened just a few weeks after Summer actually vanished, there's about 30 arrests in that area that were traffickers.
Right.
And I know that there was various other stings that took place as well, where they took numerous different cells. I think it was in Kingsport a little while ago. They got another load of children back, or young adults that were involved in it. and that's their plan. Their plan will always be to maximize the movement that they make.
Right. Anytime I hear about a new thing coming up to where they bust a trafficking ring or something like that, I always think that could possibly be good for summer.
Yeah, it could be. It could certainly be connected to it.
Exactly. And, you know, there was a huge one in Florida not long ago. And how many was it? 100 arrests?
Yeah.
Over 100 and some arrests?
Like the Disney World.
Yeah, I was really hoping that might have something to do with it. Because,
well, at any one time, there's around 850 trafficking cases in Florida alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe that many sick people can. That's what I think the internet's helped, is a bunch of sick people find each other to make the problem worse.
The world is I was literally having this conversation with my other half before I came on here, and we was talking about what our lives were like growing up in comparison to now. And I don't know, for those of you who are in chat, you might watch or listen to the Just Read page, YouTube channel, and there was a story about a young girl who, she was about 15, so school age in the US this is, and she had got involved in some of the older lads, you know, the 19-year-olds, and gone to house parties. She went to a house party and went to sleep, woke up in another state. She came round, it turned out she'd been drugged. So she'd woken up and she'd been trafficked. And she'd been trafficked by 19, 20-year-olds.
Wow. Wow. I wonder what they had used to start their little trafficking system with.
They probably knew somebody that would buy her, probably.
That is so strange to think.
It happens everywhere.
That thought wouldn't even have been in my head as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to believe that young of men are doing shit like that.
Scary. It's scary. And what situations you can find yourself trafficked from. Right. Something that's... There's so much of it. Yeah. And it is scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
especially if you're a sensible parent and you've got, I'd certainly say if you've got girls.
Oh yeah.
You know, because we know what girls are going to be like. You know, we've got, you know, our eldest is at that age now where she's got her first serious boyfriend, if you like, and we're seeing signs of coercion with him, where he's kind of breaking her away from her friends and sort of alienating her from that. And you think, where are kids safe nowadays?
You know, mine's not that old yet, but you know, like you were saying, and to me, it's more dangerous in the world to be a woman than anything else, or a female.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, I worry about my wife as much as I worry about my daughter, because there are so many creeps out there that it's unbelievable. It makes me almost feel guilty for being a dude.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know what you mean, 100%.
I mean, and you know, I don't know that I'll let Taylor move out before 30 unless, you know, she's got her gun permit and, you know, she scored marksman with her shotgun. I just, as a dad, man, it terrifies me. I think I've probably been too overprotective.
Yeah.
Now I think back, well, look what I talk about all the time. That's probably not helped any, you know?
Yeah.
And you as a dad, I'm sure you kind of get, you know what I'm saying, right?
100%, yeah.
But they get to that age, they want the freedom, and you kind of, you know, it's hard.
You're caught between a rock and a hard place, because you can't stop it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. We're like, if we don't give them some slack, we're going to make them weird.
Yeah.
Weird and going against you anyway.
Right. You know? Or rebel.
Yeah, rebel.
Yeah, that's what will happen. You'll make the situation worse. All you can do is make them fully aware of what to look out for.
Right.
Make them street smart.
Right.
raise them as good as you can, and I think they'll be good.
Yeah.
Taylor, she plays this game Roblox, where it's a community and there's different people, and in a perfect world we know they were all kids. I worry about that too, even at her age, which the game is, it's pretty elementary, but you don't know, man.
Did you know something? I'm going to tell you about Roblox. Roblox is the biggest gaming platform on the planet. There's about, I think at any one time, there's about 40 million games on Roblox.
Right.
And there are developers on there who have designed games specifically to coerce children into strange stuff. There was where they were getting, like, the little avatars, if you like, were naked and they were performing all sorts of weird stuff. If you Google it and Google Roblox and the more nefarious side of Roblox, there's a lot of it, and that's basically because anybody can set up an account and make their own game. I could do it.
Right.
Yes, it will get pulled down, but you can just set up another account. And if you're a developer, then you're likely to have a VPN system. You can change your IP address, and you can just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But they were setting up chat rooms and talking to young kiddies and all sorts. The downside is, as much as technology can be there to protect you, the more that's out there, the more can be used in a nefarious way. It's going to happen.
I know you're not from Australia now.
Yeah.
But have you heard of Cleo Smith? I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah.
It seems like if the technique used to find her was used to find Summer, it might have worked.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because, where she was kidnapped from, I'll be honest, I even had a video up where I said I thought her mom had something to do with it. The story of somebody breaking into her tent in the middle of the night, didn't wake mom or the dad up, and then gone. I was suspicious, and I am so shocked at how fast they found her, because it seems like the Summer case and her case is so similar.
Yeah.
Days, they knew where she was at. They was pulling her out.
To be fair, when you look at cases that go on for a long time, like the Summer Wells case, it's because law enforcement screw up that first 48 hours.
Yeah.
100%. You have to. I would simply do this whenever there's a child case. I think that there's enough history to say that you can treat the parents as public enemy number one straight away, and I would separate anybody, pull them all into different rooms, and say what happened.
Right.
I want a rendition of what happened this entire day, what you did from when you got up in the morning to when you rang 911. I want the whole lot. Separate and keep them apart, and do it.
Yeah, I find it odd that they're letting them talk to all these people on the phone. There's people coming to visit. I would have put a stop to that shit as soon as I got to the scene if I'd have been the police. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of feel like there could have been some planning, because why would they honestly have called Robin and Dave Dotson to come in that situation?
That's weird. I don't know.
I felt like that's why I feel like it's planned, because that just seems like that it is just for the look.
Yeah, if your kid's missing, you be outside looking for him. You wouldn't be worried about calling somebody.
Let's be honest. Don didn't want to pray. He may have tried to act like that, and that's why they called people from the church. But it was just a cover-up, in my opinion. And that's why I think they could have had some thinking put into this.
Yeah.
That's why we get back and forth,
Well, while we got you, Harsh, what happened to Rose? Who did that?
There's that case in itself is weird. I think one of the biggest, the weird things is the fact that her car keys were taken. And I know that seems like a really small detail, but I feel that for the car keys to be taken, Rose left the car with the keys. I think she took the keys out herself as a habitual thing. Because I think if she was dragged from the car or she'd stopped and there was a sudden struggle, the keys would have been left in the car.
Right. So she was meeting somebody, you think?
Yeah, I think whoever was there, she knew who it was. It wasn't someone, it weren't a stranger. It wasn't. So she was familiar with whoever it was.
So you cleared the husband? It's hard, right?
Look at the things what he did. I just.
How long was it before he got a divorce? It wasn't
about
long.
3 weeks.
He was like, "Well, we tried. She's not coming back."
Yeah.
I thought that was so odd. Have you ever heard exactly where Dawn and Candace were the day Rose disappeared? I've heard between Arkansas and Wisconsin.
That's what I heard, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's how they say. They don't tell you.
Yeah.
In that one interview, she's like, and you know, I hope they find Summer, and she's like, and I hope they find my sister too. And I'm like,
you've got to think to yourself, when they are so adamant that Summer won't get found, there's almost like an undertone of arrogance to it. And the danger with that, you do think, look, if they've already got one under their belt that they've got away with, that would give you that confidence to think she ain't going to get found because you didn't find the first one.
You know, and that's another thing that, you know, you got to think about the odds. What are the odds that two people in one family that close together just poof and they're not connected? And I don't understand how the police in Wisconsin or Tennessee can say, we know it's not connected. Well, you don't know what happened to either damn one of them. How do you know it's not connected?
Yeah, you can't say that.
It would be different if they knew what happened to one of them, right?
Yeah.
Then they'd be like, well, we know Dawn did this, and we know he was nowhere near there but
yeah.
I don't see how they can say that.
But again, you got to look, are they saying that on purpose? Again, is it a push and release to say, look, we know they're not, but deep down they're thinking, well, they friggin' well are, but we...
Do you think
that's the only thing that I can think would give someone the confidence to say she's never going to get found?
They seem very confident.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I even thought it was kind of some bravado when they said, we know she was abducted so early.
Yeah.
You know? It just seemed... I don't know. It seemed really weird to go all in as early as they did.
Yeah.
And when Dawn says, you know, when I seen the boys searching, I knew she was abducted.
But that again just shows you script, doesn't it? They'd already had a script, and that's what they were going to go with.
Yeah.
And that was the dynamic they were always going to run with. So that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be fair, even though there are so many holes in it, when you kind of start picking it about, that ultimately has been what has helped them. That
they all know the script pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, now we've learned the candy was peppermint recently. That was Summer's favorite candy.
Yeah.
That's odd to me, you know. Unless Summer's just not been around a big, large candy selection, that a 5-year-old's favorite candy would be peppermint. That's like my grandmother's favorite candy.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
It's all, none of it. And, you know, her favorite flowers are cactuses. She would be the most original little 5-year-old in the world if that stuff were true, you know?
Yeah.
That horrible-ass music that Candace plays. You know, she tries to say, oh, that was Summer's favorite song. My little girl would be like, Daddy, you got to turn that. I can't be listening to that.
Yeah, but they couldn't even get that right because they couldn't even get a birthday straight.
Right, they didn't know her birthday. That's crazy.
You know, I bet public sentiment dropped half after that. You know, whatever people were still behind them at that point, you would have thought half of them would have to have woke up. Realizing
you would hope, but she seems to have a hell of a lot of support still, doesn't she?
Oh God, it's amazing. I see her described as warm-hearted.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what other people are seeing, you know.
My chat's stuck. It won't do anything.
I think the chat's stuck.
Well, yours might not. You can look at it. There's questions you can go over.
I don't see no questions.
There's tons.
Probably.
Or how about Harsh asked you a question? That's only fair. Right?
Yeah, you need to know anything, Harsh? I'll clear up some stuff for you if you want.
Or if you have any questions, maybe.
What do you actually think happened? If you had to put money on what happened, what do you think did?
I'm going to go with it was an accident of something that had to do with the conditions of the environment. I'm not sure what. That or neglect, and they couldn't, take her to the hospital because what Dawn had been doing.
Yeah.
But the only thing that bothers me about that is it's hard to believe they've covered up an accident for 10 months. Because they're not rocket scientists. I mean, let's just be honest. Have they covered their tracks that well?
It depends how much time they had to do it. When you look at some of these cases, these cases where you've had Harmony Montgomery, look how long she was gone for.
Yeah.
Right.
Oakley Carlson, again, you're looking at cases where these children were gone for in excess of a year, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what pulls me, away from my theory back to maybe this happened days or even longer before, right?
Yeah.
Because, like with the Classic and Sincere,
Yeah.
That happened forever before they reported them missing.
Yeah. You've got to think that CPS appointment, if that was happening on that day, that would have forced their hand, because that would have obviously been like D-Day, right? We've got to do something now. But I just can't see them putting that much of a wheel in motion the day before they were due. The only thing to me that makes sense is it got to the point where they had no choice but to say, right, they're supposed to be here tomorrow. We're going to have to make the call.
Right.
But this could have happened 3-4 months ago. For God, you don't know.
But that means Hunter's lying.
Oh, well, we know Hunter's lying.
But he was being paid, wasn't he? He's a typical teenager. She was feeding him with alcohol. She was giving him vapes.
Yeah.
And he's not the most, without being too disrespectful, he's not the most scrupulous of kids, is he?
Mm. Look at the parenting.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's I know that there's kids out there that you start giving them some money and say, do this for me, or don't do that, or go and say this, or don't say that. They're going to do it, especially at that sort of age.
Grandma would have to go along with it. Allison would have to go along with it. Hunter. So that's why I don't know. Which is a good idea, but I don't know.
I still feel like the trip from New York is nefarious. And I keep coming back to that too. Do you think that could have possibly been tied in somehow? The trip from New York, all the guests that come down.
I have no doubt in my mind that was a drug run at least.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, if you look at this situation and you strip all the noise away from it and you think, right, so these people have got, like, Candace puts their house for sale on Facebook.
Right.
Now, this would have been when Dom was away, that the house is being advertised. All of a sudden, this bunch of people happen to get in a van and come from New York into Rogersville. The house, what they were going to have, all of a sudden isn't available. But Jose stays and the rest of them goes. Don then comes back. There's a massive bust up. Don ends up locked up for a few days. And when he comes back out, Jose is pissed off.
I think the funny thing to me is I think Andrew was up front smoking pot while he let Jose ride in the back with the loaded dope.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
I think there's drugs.
I think there was. It might not have been drugs either. It could have been,
who knows,
people. you know?
Yeah, it's definitely that trip weren't what they made out to be.
No, that story's bullshit.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to cancel all those plans in 2 hours and turn back around after they've transferred jobs. They said it took 6 weeks to transfer your job, right?
Yeah.
Well, once your job's transferred, you can't just go, oh, I'm sorry, I changed my mind. I'll be at work Monday back in New York, you know? So in a matter of 2 hours, somebody lost their job, and, you know, you're going to drive 26 hours in a day with 9 kids in the car, some crazy number, you know?
Yeah.
My kids would have, there's no way I could have done that.
Absolute rubbish.
The whole story's BS. It was a drop off of something. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. 100%.
You think they brought the kids for a cover up, maybe?
Yeah, I thought that.
I don't know.
You know?
Yeah, potentially. That wouldn't have looked so bizarre. You got to think it was around the COVID time as well, weren't it? So
yeah,
they'd have had to have done as much as they could to make it look as legitimate as they could.
Yeah.
You know, and it was you know, and that was right near, you know, the beginnings of COVID, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, cops, I know, your car could be falling apart and you could be doing double the speed limit and didn't want to pull you over because it was so taboo how easy to spread COVID stuff was.
Yeah.
At that time, you know. So it'd have been a great time to pull that also.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Cops didn't want to make contact with anybody they didn't have to. We got any questions left? Harsh, are we keeping you from bed?
No, I'm good. If anybody's got anything they want to ask away.
Put them up on the screen.
Let's take one off chat, okay? The first one we get, I'm going to click on it, and it'll go up on the screen, and we'll let you have that one. I hope it's something.
Go up there. There's a lot already up there.
Well, I'm sure somebody will type us one. If I start scrolling, I'm going to dump Harsh on accident or something. I'm still not great with the restream, Harsh. It's a learning process.
Yeah.
When are you going to start Harsh live?
I will do at some point. I just, I don't know. I have got another channel.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't tell people because I don't want it to have anything to do with this channel, and the other channel is a much larger channel.
No.
Okay.
And if the two blend, the likely is that one will damage this one because it's a completely different niche, and I'll end up with a load of people from the other one coming over and watching 2 seconds of a video and be like, "What's he talking about?"
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to stay in your area.
Stay in your lane sometimes.
Yeah. It's also it's hard because I know quite a lot about how YouTube work. And to be honest, it's quite, if you're going to do lives like this, it will affect your static videos. So the way that I do videos, if I then started bunging 2 hour lives into it, it would damage the channel.
Really?
Yeah. You'd be better to keep a channel where I do the videos that I do and then get another channel and just do lives on that.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I like lives though. I like to hear myself speak, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Videos, it's so hard for me to come up with something original anymore and something that I don't feel like I'm just bullshitting by spreading it, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Parch, we want to tell Riley hi too. He's watching us tonight. He's a big fan of yours and mine.
Hello, Riley.
He just had his birthday. You remember, you told him happy birthday the other night.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
How old is he? 5? He's you know how old he is?
No.
Sorry, I shouldn't ask. I think he's little.
Somebody wanted to ask Harsh if you think there's a chance they have her stashed somewhere.
Well, the Paisley Schultes case will show you that it's possible.
Right.
Paisley was hidden for around 2 years, and there was even visits to her home that she was missed. So it could be, and it has crossed my mind. It has crossed my mind that it could be, but there's a lot of moving parts in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts that I don't think should be kept at their address. That's the thing. So I think you then got to find another address for it to be being kept at.
I'd like to think that maybe it's something like that. And it's, a lot of people want to believe in somebody took her to get her away from the situation. It kind of, it's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe that that's true. But,
yeah, I'd like to believe, but the downside is with that theory, I don't believe that there's anybody decent around her.
Right.
Even the church. I'm sorry, but when you consider that Don and Candace were going to the church for the period of time that they were, why didn't they do anything? Why didn't they intervene in any way, shape, or form? Why did they let it continue for this period of time?
Right. People, and Robin tried to play it off like a lot of kids walked around church as freely as she did and stuff, but you could tell Summer was really looking for somebody to hug on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She wasn't getting it at home.
Yeah.
And these people went forever. And if they seen them that many times, they had to realize something's not right.
Yeah, that's it.
At some point.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. I think the church let her down. I think all the people that have come out and told these wild stories about seeing animals killed and seeing kids in the shower and didn't do anything, I kind of hold their feet to the fire a little bit because, I don't know. I can't say what I would do in that situation, but I would like to think I would have done something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So I think there's a lot of people that let her down. And like you said, I don't see anybody that I've seen in her circle that would be compassionate enough to do that.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's why so many people wanted to get behind Jose, is because Jose's the first person to come out that has shown some emotion. In my opinion, he's very good at representing himself and making you feel bad for him and stuff like that. I think that's why so many people got behind him.
Yeah, the downside with that is he did what everybody needed him to do. I know. I'm 42 years old, and I've known a lot of people in my life, and not all of them have been the most honest of people. And when you look at some of these people, I'm telling you now, they can manipulate a crowd in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They can manipulate a crowd in a heartbeat, and we're talking about really dangerous people, and they could come across as angelic. They know what to say. That's what make them as good as what they are at doing what they do. You can imagine living in a world where you've got to watch what you say, you've got to watch what you do, you've got to be one step ahead of people who are trying to rip you off all the time, who are trying to skim money off you, who you've got to dodge law enforcement, you've got to know what they're doing, you've got to know what people under you are doing, around the back of you are doing, what your competition is doing. These people are savvy, and he's come on and he knows what's missing. He's looked at what's missing, and he's known this is what I do, and he's been deflective. Every time there's a question that's coming in that's saying, right, what happened with this? He just plays the depressive card. I'm depressed, I don't know, and people then feel sorry for him. So he's hit him double. He's made him not only feel that he's the only one who had any care for Summer, but he's also made it so no one dares ask him anything because he feels sorry for him.
Exactly.
And he's done it like that.
He's pulled it off very, very well. And, I did a poll and I got over 1,000 responses to the poll. Okay. And the response that won, I said, I can't remember how I worded it. What do you think of Jose or something? And one of them was like, he's 100% a good guy and telling the truth. And that was the one everybody picked. It got 40% that everybody was like, Jose's a good dude.
Yeah.
So it shows how effective his strategy was. That's huge. There were 5 options and that got 40% of it.
Well, I'll put it this way. If he weren't good at winning people over who are just the general public in this scenario, if he couldn't do that, he wouldn't be in the business that he's in the real world.
Right.
Because dealing in this nefarious world of drugs and trafficking and all this is a lot harder than just talking about summer in a loving way on a channel and making people get gooey over it.
Oh, yeah, you know, he fooled a lot of people, and I wasn't buying it to begin with. His selective memory is what did it for me.
Yeah.
He can tell you where everybody's sitting in the truck, 7 people, right?
Yeah.
But then you ask him something easy, and he thinks he was there 6 months, and it was 2 weeks, a month. I mean, I'm not sure how long he was there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, you know, I think, was it you that made the joke about time goes slower in the country?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, damn, it don't go that slow, you know? 6 months.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he got out, in my opinion, of detox instead of a mental health facility.
People miss the biggest point of all as well. What you've got to think is, now, if Jose did not know Candace before he got there, he manipulated her enough to make her allow him to come home with her.
Yeah.
Right. She let a dude in the house she had known for 30 minutes and who cried all the way to her house, according to him.
Yeah.
That shit would have freaked me out, man. Some dude I had just met, I'm on the way home and he's in the back seat crying like hell. You gonna bring this dude home?
Yeah.
Hey, bunk up in the playroom, stranger.
Yeah.
That shows the horrible decision making right there. Who does that? You know?
Yeah, as a messed up situation.
Oh. And
but there you go.
He says she would never leave the boys alone. Well, she left them alone when she went and picked you up because you named every damn person in Ben Hill that was in the truck when you did it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I thought that was odd too. That's the first lie I believe I heard him tell, because he said that way early. He said, I cannot believe she would leave the boys alone. I was like, what bullshit? You know, if I could know her 30 minutes and would believe it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%.
That was the first sign of his issues, and I haven't regained myself since. You know? Has he got his channel up yet?
Oh,
I've been looking. There's quite a lot of people with Jose Roman as a name, so I think he even could have one started. I have looked, but I'm waiting for it. Yeah,
it's coming. It's coming.
How do I do that?
I'm sure.
Oh,
you got any more questions wound up for us?
No, I timed out somebody. Accident.
What else are you looking into right now? Anybody special?
Just the Oakley Carlson and Harmony Montgomery cases. I'm just following them. I know that sometime in the middle of the month, Oakley Carlson's parents are back in court to see whether they can face charges over the Oakley Carlson disappearance. But obviously her father's ex-law enforcement, so he knows the score with that. So he's just not saying anything. So they're just trying to get around that. I think the Harmony Montgomery case is now going to go cold case. But people say that that's a bad thing. And to be fair, that's not always a bad thing, because some of these people who are working in cold case are actually a lot more skilled than what normal law enforcement are. That's what they do. They know where to look. They've got, a different method for approaching these cases. So that could actually be a good thing.
Didn't her dad get in trouble for something just recently?
Yeah, he got pulled up for a connection in a shooting. And one of his ex-girlfriends as well was found dead in a hotel room.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard about the shooting thing. I didn't know about the ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Brenda,
what is it?
Brenda wants to read that.
When a grown man gives a little girl a nickname like Half Pint, it's a form of grooming.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good way to think about it.
See, I felt like that was made up.
Half Pint.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I
that
think
would
it was potentially to make you guys think that he had a bigger connection than what he did.
Right.
It just fed into that. This is how close we were. We was that close that I had a pet name for her. And,
Right.
you know, like he knew what friggin' towel she had.
Right.
You know, if
Right.
I had anyone in my house and they knew what towel my young daughter had, I'd tie it around her neck until her head popped off.
Yeah, they'd be doing something with that towel. It'd be
Yeah,
a bow tie, wouldn't it?
that's it.
Do you,
Here, I'll pick up the here. Well, never mind.
is there, you got another one? What's this one? Don thinks if he can muddy the waters with so many suspects and crazy antics that no one could see the truth. Don had a lot of help showing us crazy suspects, though, didn't he? It's not like Don's responsible for everybody that's been
No, and I
involved.
think that was just the nature of the beast. I don't think he had to. It was always going to happen.
Right.
It's like everything. You've got some cases that will, whenever you do a video, you know what it's like. It's pot luck. Some you'll think, do you know what? This is absolutely brilliant, and no one will watch it. You'll make another one and half-arse it, and 10,000 people will watch it. And that's the same with these cases. If you upload a video about a specific case, and that just happens to be at the right time, and all them pieces fall into place, it's going to take off. And once it's taken off, then trains start moving, mate. There's no stopping it. And it just happened. But as soon as you get millions of people who are watching it, then, well, they do the job for you.
Do you think when Grandma went, Jose was with him? Do you think when Grandma went, Jose was with him? I'm not sure about that one.
I think they were. I think Grandis was the one who took him to meet this female he'd met on some dating website, wasn't it? I think Grandis was the one who actually took him.
I heard that Jose had a big thing of moving into homes with children and women where there was no man present. Now, I don't know how.
Wouldn't surprise me.
That seems like that could fit his history.
Yeah.
What do you think about the doctor telling him to get far away, to leave?
I think that's utter bollocks. Why would a doctor say the best thing for you to do is get away from your own kids and go and move in with someone else's kids?
Yeah.
If you've got mental health issues like that, there's two things that'll happen. That will either be that they'll hospitalize you, or they'll tell you to be with your family.
Right. For support. Right.
For support, yeah. The people who know you and love you the most, be around them. They're going to be the people to be around.
Right. I had I had an addiction counselor. She was responding to that, and she was telling me that, they don't tell you to move away because you've got to learn to be sober where you're at. There's always going to be triggers and things like that. It would make no sense to get you to move away from your support system, no matter what. Even if he was dealing with a divorce, it would still be good for him to be around his kids, I would think.
That's it, 100%, yeah.
I could see telling him to move to the next town, like don't live on the street with your ex-wife.
No.
Right? But I can't see, go to Tennessee, look up Candace Wells. It's going to be a really great place for you to stay for the next few weeks since you're in the middle of a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me at all. And how he stayed sober living there. And then he said there was no drugs at the Wells while he was there. He didn't see anything.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
Everybody's tiptoeing around Jose to do drugs, apparently. Because you can't tell me there wasn't shit going on up at the Wells property.
Yeah, he's full of it.
Let's see here. Don is a nut job, but I don't think he's responsible. I could say I think Don's more of a coming in after the fact.
I think he's Captain Cleanup.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe him and Grandis could get along as long as they have. Don't those seem like very clashing personalities to you?
Yeah.
They just seems like, yeah, I can't believe one of them ain't got mad enough at the other one to spill something or to say something. And,
I'll tell you what, it rarely does surprise me that not more people have thought that Grandis could have done something. Because when you actually look at them as three individuals and you take into consideration that the other person who's missing is her daughter. Right. And, you know, when Grandis was last interviewed, just the emotion, there was none, that she had no emotion. Right. You know, right. And her anger towards social media and stuff like that. And you just think you showed no real emotion about the fact that your granddaughter is missing.
What got me is when she said, well, if the police want to speak to me, they know where I am, you know?
Yeah. And that to me is just, I think if you had to say which one out of all three of them was the most capable of physically harming someone, I think it would be Grandis.
I can see it, you know. My thing is, though, Grandis works for all. Say it was Grandis, okay? Well, you know, Dawn can't tell on her because we know what Dawn's problem would be.
Yeah.
Candace wouldn't want to tell on her because it's her mother.
Yeah.
And I feel like Candace didn't have no kind of bond with Summer anyway, so I don't think it would have been a ton to sell to her to keep it quiet or to help.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And we've seen it before. We have seen these cases where, you know, it is the older lady, if you like, that has been the perpetrator. Yeah. There was a case, I think it was a couple of years ago, I think, and it was of a grandmother who killed her grandson. And it was basically the grandson, I think this was it. It could have been in Florida, I think. But the grandson was turning into a bit of a rebel, and she didn't want to see him go down that route, so she shot him.
Wow. And Grandis doesn't look like the soft, feminine type either. She looks like she could whip some ass.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's why Dawn locked up with Jose, is because he would rather try his luck there than Grandis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there a way to slow the chat down?
I don't know how to slow it down.
Sorry, I asked.
Dawn thinks if he can muddy the waters with so many suspects, God, that's the same one, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not moving. You need to move it down over there.
I think we've covered almost all of it, haven't we, Harsh?
I think so.
2 hours. Is there any? I can't. Do y'all have many cases like this in the UK?
The thing is, I think that what people don't realise is how many cases there are. And again, this is down to the public ignorance. Like, I'll tell you about a case now that happened in your country probably a month ago. And it was of basically, a woman rings up the police and says, I've killed my child. The police turns up and she's decapitated her son and killed the family dog.
What?
And that happened in the US about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But I would be surprised if anybody in the chat or anyone knows about it. But you can Google it, and it's a case that happened a few weeks ago. And
that's one thing I think the Wells have done that they're not intending to do, is by keeping all the craziness of the story, them, becoming YouTubers, doing lives and all that. I think they're the reason this story is as popular as it is. It's got a lot to do with them, because you never get interviews and all this with parents.
No, you don't see them. You don't see them. And I think that there's a lot to do with how the media, we are controlled by the media. And ultimately, if things like this are constantly in the media, then there is going to be that breaking point where the public are going to sit up and go, hold on a second, why are all these children dying? Why is nothing being done about it? In the UK, we obviously last year we had the Arthur Lavinia Hughes and the Star Hobson cases, and people lost their minds. They were going crazy about it because these two little children were killed, and it's sad. But what they didn't know was 18 months previous to that, there was an undercover investigation done by one of the newspapers that found that 67 children had died at the hands of basically social services allowing the children to stay with dangerous families.
Wow.
So that was 67 children that had died that social services knew about. But the world goes crazy when they find out about 2.
Yeah.
And it turns out that there's hundreds that it just won't go public.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why when you start talking about these cases, people are easily fooled by the likes of Jose. They're easily fooled by the likes of, and I hate to say it, this is going to upset some people, but like Brandy Neal. And there's some people who will highly, and I appreciate that some people will support their family, but I'm sorry, but if you're going to look dodgy, then prepare to be treated like you're dodgy. And we're talking about Tyler, who has the dad has failed 2 polygraphs. He is not engaging with the public whatsoever. Brandy's father is threatening people who are ultimately putting out information about what Brandy said. Well, the worst thing, the downside is she said it. You know, it doesn't really matter, even though it was done in the wrong way. I admit that they shouldn't have probably gained the information the way they did. But she still said it. She was threatening to burn down the police station. She was threatening to go after law enforcement's wives. I've got 4 hours of recordings myself, including the pre-interview from the Chris McDonough interview that Brandy Neal done with him. And that was where she admitted herself that she didn't even have to take a lie detector test. She didn't take one. He failed his twice. And all of a sudden, if you say anything, everyone's jumping on your head saying, well, why are you being so horrible? Well, not being funny, but what have this family done what Don and Candace haven't?
I thought she had something to do with it. That's my opinion. I don't say that.
But I mean,
I think she did. I think she had something to do with it.
I think that this is what happened. And what people don't realise is the people who support these families, they only hear what they want to hear and they tune everything else out. And Brandy has been very good at, when she sees a comment being made, shutting it down immediately. So it changes the dynamic of that conversation. But so what people's perception is in this case is this is what happened. So the boy's at home and the father goes to change a nappy and little boy gets out and wanders off down the road and he goes that way. And he's picked up by 3 or 4 of the neighbours who have seen him apparently walking that way, and he vanishes. But that's not what happened. What actually happened was he walked that way and nobody saw him whatsoever. The only one person who saw him going that way at around 6:45 and was outside his own house. So when people are saying, well, why didn't any of these neighbours who have seen this little boy pick him up and take him home?
Right.
Because no one saw him, apart from one person who saw him going back home.
See, I never heard that.
And that's the problem. No one does. No one hears it. They also don't hear the fact that the cars that were seen up that end of the road, that is why Brandy Neal didn't tell everybody that they weren't anything to do with it. And I have the recording where they have even, she's having a conversation with someone and they're saying, you need to tell law enforcement. And she said, no, as long as they've got that information, misdirection. And you're thinking, how are you people listening to what she's saying and don't think that's weird? And it's weird because he never went out the top of the road.
Wow. See, I've never heard that before, that part.
And they talk about like, oh, right, so the sniffer dogs sniffed and got to the end of the road and his scent vanished. It didn't vanish. He turned around and walked back. He didn't go no further because he turned around and went back the other way.
So you think he made it back home?
He went back home. And I think if I had to fathom a guess, and if I'm wrong, I will do a video and I'll apologise. But I reckon that this little boy has got out. I reckon the father's been looking for him, frantic round the house, and hasn't been able to find him. This little boy's then strolled back into the house as if to say, "Oh, I'm back," and he's facked him round the head. Game over.
You think?
I think so.
Well, I mean, if he's failed the polygraphs, and I always thought it was just so irresponsible to go in the house to change a diaper with the little boy outside, you know, and nobody really talked about that. But I wouldn't do that with a kid that young.
No,
you know, it shows he's no helicopter parent, you know, for sure.
No,
right,
and that's what I think happened. Because when you cut through all of the mess and the rubbish, you've got a father who was anything that Brandy actually says doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything because she weren't there. She was at work.
Yeah.
She's literally just spouting what apparently he said.
Right.
So she weren't there. So she can't be. How does she know what she's saying? I'm not saying that she's done anything, but what I am saying is she doesn't know what happened. At the very best, she doesn't know what happened.
What is the name of her friend that has a child missing as well? Who were they talking about? Which friend?
Dixie, what friend are you
Dixie,
talking
which
about?
friend are you talking about? Candace? Does Candace have a friend that's missing? I've heard about this new thing of. Have you heard the new thing about the lady they think had kidnapped a kid to save him from the situation, and then they found her?
Yeah.
I
I don't think that's got anything to do with the Candace situation. I think that would be kind of disrespectful to try and bring that into it. I think that was a completely different situation, what happened with this baby. I think they were all involved in, obviously, the drug side of things. And even the mother of that child had said, even though she didn't think that was done the right way, she did the right thing. If that makes sense. Her intentions were good and it potentially saved that child's life.
Right.
So, you know, this wasn't done as in a nefarious way. It was just done the wrong way for a good reason.
Right. I see. I didn't think there was any kind of connection to that. But,
you know. And I think people have kind of jumped onto that. Again, you're getting to the point now where people are struggling for material,
that's
and they're seeing the views come down. You know, this announcement in law enforcement, what we've seen, that's not the case really on its arse, to be fair, because, you know, that's the information that people will hold as the most important information. That's beyond speculation. And when law enforcement comes out and say, look, we're no further forward, people will lose interest. A lot of people will lose heart and they'll be like, well, we're done then. That's it.
What's your take on them saying that they think she never left the area?
I think they've obviously got no proof to say otherwise. They've got no sighting of her. They've got no trace of her. They've got no vehicles, nothing like that. So I think that's what they mean by that. They just mean that they've got no evidence, whether it be camera, whether it be public sightings. There's nothing. So the last place that they have proof that she was on Ben Hill Road.
Right, because I mean they ruled it. Well, they didn't rule it out, but they said from day one they've never wavered. There was no sign of an abduction.
Yeah.
So I think they're just convinced of that. I really feel like they suspect Don and Candace. They just don't want to say it. They don't want to damage their case.
No, that's it. And that's 100%.
You know. Do we get answers in the next 6 months, do you think?
I think it depends. I think the danger is, I think it could go quiet online now. That's the only downside. And I think we're now at that point where I think this is where it needs to be kept alive. Because if nothing happens online and it dies off, I think it will turn into a cold case, because it's going to be online, and it's going to be with this continued interaction that the screw ups are going to happen.
Right.
That's what I think. I think that they'll drop the ball. The more eyes that are on them, the more they're going to drop the ball. I think if people just walk away from it, yeah, there's less of a chance of them being caught in a lie, if you like.
See,
but I'd like to think within 6 months we'll have an answer one way or another.
Yeah. Law enforcement's message made me feel like they were maybe trying to do kind of like I don't know, to take hope away, because if you look at what they said, I mean, if they think she's there, they're not searching, that to me means they think it's grim.
Again, they got to be kind of careful. Like, a lot of people wonder why they just won't search the premises, but even that is not as simple as what people like. If you're going to search someone's property, you've got to have a reason for doing it. So they'd have to turn around and say, we're going to search your property because we believe someone could be on it. And straight away, because they've turned around and said she was abducted from the property, they're going against what the family have said. So they're walking real kind of fine line there.
Right.
If they search that property, which you got to remember, that's 11 acres. If they searched and didn't find anything, they'd be open to a law a lawsuit back on them.
Right. Do you think there's anything there to find now?
No. I don't know. Now you say now, it does make me wonder whether she was initially off of the property and then later on she was brought back onto the property.
Would they be that brash, you think? They know it's already been searched, and they probably don't have to let them search it again.
That's the thing. I think that you could potentially say that. We've also seen elements of that property, like there's a truck in the yard, what didn't have any wheels on it, and that's moved around to another place on the yard, I noticed. So there's plenty of places on there. Again, 11 acres is a big piece of land to hide something. And I hate to say it like this, but when you're now looking at 10 months down the trot, that if we're talking remains, it's getting harder.
Right. I really felt like, because, in the fall started the hunting season in the area. There's a lot of people in that region that hunt. It's a big thing. Yeah. I was really fearful that something would be found there.
Yeah.
Because I always thought, I still think there's a good possibility one of them trips out was maybe to dump something, but I really feel like eventually they would have went back and covered it up better.
Yeah.
I don't think she was there when they were doing all the searching.
No, I don't.
And I think that's pretty safe bet, right?
Probably. No. There's a lot of property. I don't know.
Yeah, but they searched for a solid 2 weeks. I don't think she was close at that point,
Yeah.
Harsh.
Yeah.
What do you think the most likely place she is now? It's not on the property. Do you buy the cremation theory?
I don't know enough about that connection, if you like, to say. Right. Obviously, if you're going to turn around and say, what way could you get rid of a body to be least likely to be found again, I would say cremation. And again, that was something that came up in the Madeleine McCann case. But she was potentially cremated, and I believe that is what happened. I believe that the church helped facilitate it, and she was cremated at the church alongside somebody else who was cremated. So you can't rule it out, but because I don't know enough,
that would help. That would help explain how Dawn is so confident she'd never be found, though.
Yeah,
that's one way.
There's two, like I say, there's two ways, and that is that they're confident because she's buried where Rose is buried, and they ain't found Rose, so they're quite confident that unless they're going to find them both, right. Or again, she was cremated.
Yeah.
So they're the only ways that they're the only things that would give you the utmost confidence to say that, unless that was a facade and he just wanted people to believe that. But yeah, if he was being genuine in his thoughts and what he was saying, then yeah, you have to say, well, bloody hell, you are talking about the confidence that you've got to have at once, or the ability to know there ain't nobody to find.
I sort of lean toward it's already been done once.
Yeah,
you know,
that holds more weight without knowing the connection to having the facility to cremate.
Right.
Like that you would have to know and have access to a crematorium oven. You're not like, I know people were talking about he had a wood burner or some sort of burning facility on the property. You're not burning a body with that. Right. To burn a human of even Summer's stature, you're looking at 1,500 degrees C for around 90 minutes.
Right.
Right. And you're not getting that out of any sort of home fire, if you like.
Right. Right. That's like the TVA had this one case where these kids, they were in a fire with their grandparents. Okay. They found the grandparents' bodies. They didn't find the kids, but they found the birds, and they don't think anything suspicious about that. They said the ashes have been went through like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah.
I mean, they don't find it odd that they've never found these kids' bodies, but they found the parakeet.
Yeah.
So it makes you think there should be something there to find, and the TBI really doesn't seem concerned over it. And that's happened. That was back in 2012, I think it was. I did a whole video.
They obviously weren't in the fire.
You would think they would have found them if they found the parakeet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see how that's possible. Well, Harsh, I think it's went great, man. We're already at 2 hours.
There we go.
Flew by.
Did. Thanks for having me.
So much. I appreciate it so much. I might have to come out with a theory video now that I can use some of your parts.
Mm-hmm.
I keep getting requests, but I never want to do it because it changes daily.
Yeah.
What you think that happened?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Everybody, Harsh, I want to thank you for everybody in the chat for coming and staying with us as long as you did.
Thank you everybody who came and joined us.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys liked it. For Harsh Reality.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Harsh. Thank you so much.
And I will see you all in the next one.
See you, Harsh.
See you later.
Well, guys, I thought that went great. What did y'all think?
Are they still on here?
I feel bad keeping Harsh up all night, Harsh is a wealth of information, is he not?
Mm-hmm. They said you put me in a corner, wouldn't let me talk.
I did not. I was just letting Harsh go, man. Harsh he knows a lot of cases, don't he?
Mm-hmm. His
knowledge is really good. I was shocked how much he keeps on top of it once.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot of stuff about the Michael Vaughn I'd never heard of.
Remember, I said I think the mom had something to do with it, covering it. I told you that.
I know. There's been whispers lately, and it's not looked very good.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry we didn't get to more of your questions, but I really felt like everybody wanted to know, a lot of the questions I asked, and I think it was some really good thought and a lot to pick your brain on, a lot to think about, and you know, that's how we learn. And I think Harsh did an excellent job.
Mm-hmm.
I know Harsh don't go live. I think this is the first time he's ever done live.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Harsh is a good friend to JDTC, and we really appreciate him staying the whole 2 hours and answering questions and, you know, keeping us entertained. And, you know,
Thanks, everybody.
thanks everybody for coming. I hope you guys had a good time. I'm sorry we didn't get to more questions, but, you know, I thought it was really entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you Friday morning.
Yeah, we'll see you Friday morning, 10 a.m. Everybody, good night. Thank you for coming.
Bye.